New figures show Premier Doug Ford's PCs have built up a big surplus in their party coffers. The money puts the Progressive Conservatives in far better financial shape to contest an election than any of their rivals. Let's go to our senior reporter at Queen's Park, Mike Crawley. Mike, how big a lead do the PCs have financially right now over the other parties?
Yeah, Dwight, I've spoken to some political strategists, and honestly, they're describing it as a staggering lead, a huge lead. Let's take a look at some of the numbers from 2023. So this comes from Elections Ontario filings that have just been provided. And so we can see from these numbers that the PCs, they got $8 million in donations from Ontarians over the course of the last year. And that adds up to more than all of the other parties combined. So that's political contributions from donors. And then when you consider what that has amounted to in the way of a surplus, you know, even though the PCs spent a bunch of money in 2023, they actually have now a $9 million surplus in the bank, and that is drastically more than any of the other parties have. And it actually is the amount of money that they had at the end of 2023. So they've been spending some of that more recently on political ads.
Mike, help us understand what this fundraising advantage does for the PCs.
Yeah, so it gives them basically the freedom to pretty much spend money at will. The PCs have been running a bunch of attack ads against Bonnie Crombie, the Liberal leader. They've been running these sort of more promotional soft ads showing Doug Ford, you know, talking on the cell phone, telling people, you know, he's out there working hard for Ontarians. And that's in addition to the sort of pro-government ads that have been running, telling you about how great it is to live in Ontario that's been spent by taxpayer money. But the PCs have been able to run these ad campaigns and frame their opponents and promote Doug Ford at a time when the opposition parties haven't had the money to do that. And so, you know, this is in some ways setting the table for the potential for there to be an early election. And you know, it's basically giving the PCs a bit of a head start over their rivals.
Yeah, with all those commercials you mentioned, it almost feels like we're in an election campaign because we see them on TV so much. So, Mike, what are the other parties now saying about all of this?
Yeah, so we put this big fundraising lead to Marit Stiles and Bonnie Crombie of the NDP and the Liberals at Queen's Park. Take a listen.
Our donors tend to be smaller donors, and we have a lot more of them. And we're going to keep raising money.
We will have the money we need to fight an election whenever it is called. We are gearing up.
How does this then play, and you kind of touched on it earlier, into the possibility of an early election call, Mike?
So, Dwight, it's like another piece of the puzzle, right? We've talked about the fact that the PCs, you know, have a pretty strong lead in the polls. We've talked about the advantage of calling an election ahead of time. If Justin Trudeau is still Prime Minister, gives Doug Ford someone to campaign against. But the political strategists that I spoke to say, you know, it's like the final piece of the puzzle. Take a listen to Kate Harrison.
I think the signs are there for an early election. You've got a majority government that is ahead in the polls, an opposition that has yet to define itself, a healthy nest egg from which to build political ads and have a really well-run, efficient campaign. If you're looking at that and you're looking at relative uncertainty that might come in 2026, be that economic uncertainty, political uncertainty, this is a pretty attractive scenario for Doug Ford to make the case to go early.
One last thing I'm going to leave you with, Dwight. At the end of this year, a taxpayer-funded subsidy that's been going to the parties for the past few years, that's going to end. And the opposition parties actually earned more money off that subsidy than they did from donations. So, you know, starting next year, they're going to be really in tough to try to raise enough money to contest an election.
Very interesting. Our senior reporter at Queen's Park, Mike Crawley. Thank you, Mike.